Hey folks, welcome to Market Technical Analysis from InTheMoneyStocks.com for September 27, 2007. Well, yesterday we saw some major whipsaw action, guys, and overall today we saw the exact opposite. We stayed in a very tight range on most indexes, and we traded, especially on the Nasdaq, in a tight range that just didn't break out either way. And I'm going to show you guys this in a minute, but I first want to show you the daily Nasdaq chart. Here you see the daily Nasdaq chart. Here's the dip on August 16th. The Fed lowers the discount rate here. We have the big rally here based on the Fed and the two rate cuts, the discount rate and the Fed funds rate cut here. And this is where we're trading up. Now what I want to show you guys here is that we are approaching that double top area on the Nasdaq. The double top area on the Nasdaq will be 2724.74. Right now we are at 2709.59 and we hit a high of 2712. So we were about 10 points, 12 points away from that high on the Nasdaq high today. Now that's interesting to see, and I'm going to draw a couple trend lines here so we can all get this aware and make sure we can all see this together. What I want to show here is first is the double top area, and we are approaching it, no doubt about that, guys. We've kind of been trading sideways to up here, and we're approaching it. Now I don't necessarily like this pattern, guys. This is a weak pattern on the up move, and this tells me at some point we need to see a little bit of a pullback here in this market. And this is the first day I'm really seeing this, guys. That maybe next week we might see a little downturn. And I'm not calling for the end of the world, by no stretch, alright guys? But we just need at least another downtrend. We're staying above this 20 moving average now, quite a while. And again, look at, here's the touch. Notice here, guys, the touches on the moving averages, and I always preach this, that every once in a while you need a market or a stock to come back and touch that 20 moving average. And look at this. This is the amount of space between these moves. Here's between the 20 moving average, and then it retouched. Here between, and then it retouched. Right here it was on. Here was probably the longest portion when we really fell in that market, but there it touched again. Eventually get a bounce back. And here again it was like a large portion between, and there we touched. So my point being is that now this is the extension of the line. So what this is telling me from an analysis point of view is that at some point, probably next week or the following week, in the next 2 weeks, we are going to have a little bit of a sell-off. I would guess next week, maybe midweek-ish, and we will retest. And at that point, this moving average might be up here, and we'll probably come down and retest this 20 moving average in this general vicinity. Okay? And we'll follow it closely to try and get a little more of a general sense as we go along each video. But I do want to point that out to everyone. In addition, I want everyone to realize today was extremely light volume. I think it was close to one of the lightest volume days of the year. And it was just very weird because you don't think there's no holidays, there's no nothing. It's not like a Friday afternoon when people are taking off early for the weekend or a Monday following a vacation weekend. Today was Thursday, just a plain old Thursday. But we saw insane amounts of light volume, just tiny, tiny volume in the market. And, you know, lately I haven't really paid as much attention to volume. But I do want to point this out, alright guys, and let me get rid of that pop-up there, that tomorrow's the end of the quarter, and notoriously the end of the quarter is for window dressing. And what does that mean, guys? Well, that means every manager, money manager out there, every hedge fund manager, every mutual fund manager, everyone is trying to make their portfolio look as good as possible. So they're buying the stocks that have been up so they can show that they were in that portfolio. And this is commonplace, guys. Window dressing is commonplace. But in general, what you see a general upward move towards the end of that quarter. And just like at the end of the year, you see generally that last couple weeks of the year, you see a positive bias in the market because you have the bonuses coming out. The same generally applies for the end of a quarter and window dressing. So again, starting next couple weeks, we're going to start to have earnings. And that could be very interesting for this market as well. But I am beginning to get a little edgy here with this market. The other thing I want to point out of the Nasdaq is look at the flatlining on the top end here on the stochastics. Okay, this is looking at the stochastics. Now, what I like to see here, and what I'm going to show you guys, is how we have more upside potential over here and how we have less over here. The general jaggedness of a stochastic tells us something. When it's flatlining, see how flat this line's become on the top as we pushed higher and the stochastics are becoming flat? That's telling me that they're getting a little toppy, okay? As opposed to this over here. Look at here. We bounced up right here, and that coincided with a little top here on the stochastic. And then we had a one-day sell-off where we took it down. And see how that's much more jagged? How it goes up, down, or down, up, like that. Here we don't get that anymore. And that's telling me that at some point we need to have a stochastic spike down so it can get that type of move for another move higher, should there be one. All right? And again, in all these, I'm putting together multiple things that are telling me, okay, we are possibly getting near to a little sell-off in this market. And again, when you put all these technical indicators and little patterns and little things I've learned over the course of my trading career together, that's when we begin to get a general sense that, okay, we could be looking at a possible little sell-off next week or another dip in this market. You know, again, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying a possibility, maybe a move down to this 20 moving average somewhere in this realm, I would expect. And again, we notice how there's a certain amount of span that the stock charts or the market charts can stay away from those moving averages. I just showed that before. And then it must at some point retouch that 20 moving average. Okay? So again, keep watch of that, okay? I also want to keep watch of a couple other odds and ends, which we'll go over. But I'm just going to go out to the intraday. Let's talk about today. The markets generally ended up slightly. The Nasdaq was up about a 10. The Dow was up in the 30 range. It was a slight move up again, and again, very, very light volume. And I want to show you the range we were in today, guys. This is basically the range for today. And it didn't, mean much today. We'll draw the line right from here. And we'll even draw it flat, so they're both flat. And there we go. Alright, so you can see, we basically were in this range. We gapped up a little higher, and that was pretty much the high of the day right there on the Nasdaq. Then we sold off, touched the line, bounced back up, touched the line, and look at this little, jagged type of pattern all day long in this. And it might look more volatile than it is, but it really was not volatile at all, guys. We stayed between these two lines. We generally, starting from about here, and let me erase these lines as we go, we basically hugged that 20 moving average all the way up, and it was angled slightly higher because of the gap up. And from yesterday, and look, we just kind of stayed all along this 20 moving average, dipping up and down a little bit, but generally coming to rest at the close on that moving average, and the Nasdaq ended up 10.56 points. Now, just talking about some odds and ends here, we showed that chart on the daily, but I want to flip over to the ES, and notice how the ES isn't really trading up in the same pattern. Okay, this was the Nasdaq chart where this line was from the Fed. The ES has shown us a little more weakness. So if you are gonna, or if we are gonna look to possibly play a little move down, maybe next week, we are gonna look to play the weaker of the indexes. All right, and that's again the general thing that you want to look for. All right, keep that in mind. This is actually something that if we saw this on all the indexes, I actually think that's a better move. You usually see a little trail down before the next spike up like that, as opposed to the Nasdaq chart, which has kind of just been trending up. And trending up sometimes means a possible breakdown. So again, we're not sure on the exact thing, but based on stochastics and other technical signals, we could be seeing a small little pullback next week, midweek. Again, this is following window dressing, the stochastics, and other multiple indicators that we use. All right, a couple other things I want to point out. We're seeing some charts getting very toppy here. Baidu, we showed you guys this yesterday, how it had its first pull down. Well, on the little rally today, it moved up a little bit, but it's still off its highs. We're talking still about these Chinese stocks, as Chinese stocks are insane. But again, remember yesterday in the video how we talked about how this could be a signal that these Chinese stocks are beginning to top. Well, I want to show you a couple of the big runners over the last couple of days, what they did today after Baidu sold off yesterday, and we called that signal. All right, CPSL was a big one. All right, yesterday, look at this, and look at today. Boom, look at the size of that move down, $2.50 drop. And again, I keep on telling everyone, when it gets that far away from that 20 moving average, it's got to come down. Now, that's already done its thing. It might come down lower. Maybe it'll come down to here. I don't really know. But at some point, it's going to start to make a sideways motion, slightly down, actually. Generally, it makes a downward pattern. And again, this would be sliding down like this. Okay? But again, it definitely has $1 or $2, probably more on the downside in it. But at this point, it's already off $3 or $4 from its highs. So what are you going to do? Chase it? No, you don't want to chase it at this point. JRJC. Look at the topping candle today forming on this. And look at how far away. We highlighted this yesterday, and we said how expensive it was. Well, today, it got a huge push up. It was up as much as $10 today. And I'm going to show you the intraday chart. This is just a monster move. I mean, unbelievable intraday move. You had this move up here, which at the height here, it was up as much as $10. And then all of a sudden, the selling came in. It went sideways. More selling, just cascading selling all the way down. It closed up something like $1.40 here on the day. Compared to the $10 it was up, that's a huge topping candle. All right, and this is what we call a topping candle right here. This is basically what you're looking for here. A break of that low of that candle will set off another sell signal of the stock, and some more volume should come in that stock to the downside usually. All right, that's a high percentage play. Nothing's 100% in this game, but it's a high percentage play. Okay, guys. Again, this is just all talking about stuff in the day trading chat room we go over. The swing trade alerts have some of these, but we deal with more of the solid plays in the swing trade alerts. If you're just looking for something you don't have to watch, then the swing trade alerts are for you. If you're looking for something that you're going to want to watch a little more, the volatility, like CNIC type play, where it went up 100% yesterday. And by the way, that went out to our free subscribers on the website. You can sign up for a free watch list, which we post on the weekends. We email to you on the weekends, and CNIC was highlighted as of Friday's close right here. 3 days later, it jumped 100%, and that was a free play that went out to everyone on Sunday. I think it was evening it went out, last Sunday evening. Wednesday, which was yesterday, it went up 100%. Today, it got a little pullback. Okay, all in all, guys, come join the chat room. It has been an amazing day trading chat room. Tomorrow's promising. I have 3 plays we're watching for tomorrow for day trades. If they trigger on a breakout, we're going to jump on board, make some good money, hopefully. Any questions, you can always email me, Gareth at inthemoneystocks.com. That's Gareth at inthemoneystocks.com, Gareth at inthemoneystocks.com.